the mental health aspect of it is just as important as the physical health. And so you're going to have to get strong mentally because it's not going to be easy.
I think we're live once again. Hello, everyone, Ironman and beyond. This is High Achievers all over the world. How's everyone doing? We have Ginetta here. We have also Erik as our special guest today. Today, we are super excited. Before we end this year, we're going to have something really good for you all. And for those who still have races this year, guess what? This one's going to pump you up. And for those who's like building up your race agenda next year, this one will get you going as well. You guys are ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So let's jump in because today you're going to learn so much. So my suggestion is for you to actually get your pen and paper because this is going to be so good. And if you want your friends to actually jump in here, make sure to tag them as we go along. Well, today we're going to talk about top 10 things that Erik, our special guest here, learned on his 3-year journey as a busy dad to become an Ironman Kona finisher. We're talking about 3 years before qualification, then qualification, and then actually racing the Ironman Kona.
Yes.
All in 3. All right.
Pretty amazing. I love it.
And that's why I think it's worth actually talking about it. Let's see if he's actually human. How could you do this one all in 3 years? And I'm sure we're going to touch base a lot of different surprising stories as well as we go along. But here you go. Today, I'm sure we're going to touch base and discuss things such as time management, how to structure your time as a dad of 4 kids. So training and family responsibilities are on track. Mindset. We're going to talk about that too. How to believe and keep on target even when challenges appear. And for Erik, it's almost all the time.
It's 3 years. You have to be like, your goal has to be pretty clear and you have to be very, on target to actually hit that. That's a long time.
Yep. All right, next. Well, 3 years. Okay. What else could possibly come up?
COVID.
Well, yeah, there was COVID, by the way. 2020 is COVID year. So that was actually the time when I met Erik. So we'll talk more about that in a bit. So when you're building up this volume to Ironman distance and when you're racing, training, and especially if you're just learning all the skills to get faster, how can you get faster? Because he wanted Kona. All right. So injury prevention. What can be done proactively to decrease the chances of getting hurt in the process? Anyone wants to know that? Raise your hand. Is this something that interests you? Are you already, practicing this once already? And if you are, share those also so we can learn from each other.
Yeah, I'd love to hear what others are doing.
Next, strategy, race strategy, how to make sure you're focusing on the right things and working smarter, not harder. Okay, so it's not really just swim, bike, run. It's also being strategic with your training, with balancing your time, priorities. Like there's so many things going on with triathlon. There's swim, bike, run. Is it just swim, bike, run? So you're going to learn also that today because a lot of our athletes, especially for the new ones, especially for me also, I thought it was just swim, bike, and run. But if you want to be a strong triathlon finisher, there's more than that. And also if you want to not get injured, if you want to be healthy and remain sane, there's more than that. So today we're going to touch base that. All right. Next thing, balance. How to have a balanced life and not have training put pressure on other areas of your life. Okay. Especially, I think this one is very, very important, because we have our family who supports us and definitely, there's the work. All right. We do have to work. And also, when there are a lot of like go-getters, high achieving athletes, some of them like, coach, give me more workouts. I can do this one. I got 2 hours or 1 hour. But then how about the family and work? How can you balance that, right? To make sure that you are actually, you're not dropping the ball. Next, last but not the least, how to leave the phrase cool, calm, collected. Actually, this is a phrase that Erik mentioned in one of our training videos, live training in the past. I'm going to show to you right now. This is actually the third time within 3 years that we invited Erik as our special guest. So we're not going to go into details of like how all his races or how he got here. This one is more of a summary of the 10 things he learned after the 3-year journey. But if you'd like to know how he was, so you can actually really relate and you can understand, hey, Erik is just like me. Well, if Erik did it like this way, why not me?
Yeah.
Right?
And where was he 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Where was he 2 years ago?
So we
right?
actually interviewed him before he qualified for Kona. And at that time, hey, Erik, you're a special human being. I'm able to train you and you can take it, and you are still balancing your time with your family and your business. So how a dad of 4 is winning races and training for IMCDA and IMAZ at the same time. All right. So he got 2 Ironman at the time. That was 2021. Actually, that was just last year. Yeah, that was just last year.
That seems like that's a long time ago.
Yeah. So that was so if you want to complete this one or check it out, so you can like, hey, I can do this one. This one was before Erik qualified for Kona, and so this one, just say pre-Kona Erik, hashtag pre-Kona Erik, and then we'll give you that link there. The next one here, we also invited him after he qualified for Kona. Again, it was one of those things that like, I got to know more, I want to share more of what and also so he can give more of like, how did he qualify on his Ironman Kona, second Ironman, Boston Marathon? Actually, he qualified for Boston Marathon after he qualified for Kona. We realized, hey, you might as well try it out, So his first marathons, like he was doing it after 112-mile bike. So basically that was his marathon. So he qualified for Kona and he qualified, guess what, for Boston Marathon only early this year. And that was his second marathon. So if you want this one, we also talked about this one mainly also because he showed here that he was training for, like to qualify for Kona, to qualify for Boston with 4 kids. And on top of that, he was also doing that, making an impact to his community. So he does a lot of volunteer work. And then we talk about that, like, how do you balance this one? So he's not just a family man, he does help in his community. So that one, if you want that one, just put hashtag qualify for Kona. And now we're back. So for those who's just tuning in, so we are going to be talking about top 10 things Erik learned on his 3-year journey as a busy dad to become an Ironman Kona finisher.
Let's say hi to everybody who's joining us. Hi, Andrea. Good to have you. Jason's here. Reggie's
Hi, Jason.
here.
Reggie. What's up?
Brian's here.
Brian, Andrea, Wendy. All right. Sheila, Fanny, Yesenia. People are just jumping in. All right.
Ron's
Wayne
here.
Hahn is here too. Patrick, a lot of goodness. Vivian is here. All right, everyone, welcome. If this is your first time to tune into our live, say, I'm new, I'm excited, I want to learn more. And if you're here on live, put hashtag live. If you're listening on replay, hashtag replay, so we know when you're listening to it. And we are super excited. Well, without waiting further, let's introduce Erik from Arizona. What's going on, Erik? Congratulations of all this achievement. 3 years. You are here.
It feels like longer, doesn't it?
Yeah. And, I've known you in a while, 3 years. And I think about it, like, how many times have I seen you in person? Only once. And actually, that was COVID, before COVID year. So let me share you like how we met Erik. Erik, I met him. He was one of the members, athletes in Ironman and Beyond, just like every one of you guys that in Ironman and Beyond. So we had that 30-day swim boot camp, and Erik was in there. And actually, he took an effort to actually go to California from Arizona, and that was back in March 2020, before COVID. And that was that was the only time I met you in person, but we're like this. 3
Yeah,
years.
yeah, for real.
All right. So, well, 3 years. So everyone, when we started coaching Erik, one of the questions that we did have, and let me just go back there. I asked him, Erik, what do you really want? That's one of the questionnaires that we do have. And he told us back in 2020, Erik said, hey, coach, on the written form, he said that he wants to qualify for Kona. And he said 5 years. All right, good to know. But you know what? With us, be careful what you ask for. Now I know.
Right.
Now I know. Now we're gonna make it happen. Well, what we do in Feistyfox coaching, we actually, like once we know, we don't pressure the athlete, hey, let's get there in 5 years. What we do is actually, we do our best every single day. We give our best every single day. So we're not really like, oh, okay, let's go there like 5 years, we just do our best. But what's great about this is that he qualified for Kona in a little over a year. That was last year. So we started coaching Erik in 2020 and he qualified in 2021. And then
that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. And then just last month, he finished Kona. So that was 3 years. Just remember only 3 years.
Yeah, it's wild.
Everything. What do you think about it, Erik, of that, how it happened?
It's still pretty surreal. Being in Kona was pretty crazy, so I just didn't think that it would happen that soon. I was always, I always thought that, like, I did kind of set that goal, but that was kind of like, it was more of a wish, if I want to be, honest. And, because sometimes we have these goals or these dreams and we don't really believe in them ourselves. They're just kind of, fantasy. Yeah. And, but I did think that eventually I would get there on the legacy program. And so I thought that would, that I think they just changed that to 12, or did they change it to 15 from 12?
Right now, I think it's 12 still. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. And so it would, doing one a year would take, 12 years to get there. So then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to have to, if I want to move this along, I'm going to do multiples a year. And that seemed just completely crazy at the time too, just to do one, I remember, was just a huge, it didn't seem possible to even do one from at the beginning, at least. So yeah, it's cool that within that time that, so many things happened. I was chasing I did that first Arizona, and then that second year I was chasing the 2 Ironman in a year. Yeah, I was signed up for Arizona and Santa Rosa, I think.
Coeur d'Alene.
Well, Santa Rosa was. Santa Rosa. I was signed up for it and it got canceled, I think, because of COVID.
That's
right.
And
so then that was deferred. And so then I had a chance for Coeur d'Alene or something else.
You did Coeur d'Alene.
So I thought, I heard Coeur d'Alene's pretty. And then it was in June, and then Ironman Arizona's in November. So that spaced them out pretty good, within the course of a year. So it was like, okay, this makes sense to be able to do 2 in a year. And that was really the objective, was just to get that second one in the year. I never went into, I never signed up for Coeur d'Alene thinking that it would be a qualifier for Kona. So
it's a great bonus. You didn't even
know.
Sorry. So that's what's great about like how we do it. It's like we just do our best.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh shoot, I qualified for Kona.
Yeah.
That's wild. Awesome. What I'm wondering about, and what others may be wondering about, is, it sounds like you're kind of new to triathlon, but all the things you've done, it sounds like you've been kind of doing it forever. How long have you been doing triathlon?
So my first Arizona triathlon was 2019. And so,
and then COVID,
and I think that's it. I'm terrible on dates, but I had volunteered for one, and then I volunteered for the swim, and that got really interesting. My sister had done one, and so it was like, okay, once I volunteered, I got that priority registration, and so it was like, okay, I'll sign up. I didn't have a bike, didn't swim. I had been running a little bit, but like half marathons. Yeah. So it was, but that was, I want to say that was 2019. So.
It was 2019.
So 4 years. Somebody looking at these achievements and looking at the poster, they'd probably say, are you some sort of superhuman? How are you even like,
What do you eat?
what's happening here?
No, far from it. Like I said, it still feels really surreal sometimes, but like I said, you do this for a while, and like when I signed up to do 2 in a year, I thought that was crazy. And now it's to the point where it's like just the way we train and the way it becomes a lifestyle. It's like you could wake me up tomorrow and say, let's go do an Ironman. And I'd be like, let's go. So it's, even if you're not fully prepared for it mentally, you've already done it, so it's like, you can do it again. So it's still funny talking to people. I was in the bike shop just yesterday and I had my Ironman shirt on, and you forget that you're even wearing that, then somebody asks about it. And,
oh, you did it.
Yeah. And they're so like, in awe of it sometimes. And it's really wild to think like, I did that. That is pretty cool. So,
yeah.
That's pretty amazing. I mean, you started like everybody else starts being.
Absolutely.
So how about this? I want to know, for those who's listening here, like, when did you start your triathlon?
Yeah, let's put
down below. And how did you start? Did you go Ironman right away? Did you go sprint first, Olympic? I did this baby step to the Ironman. Yeah.
So it was kind of baby steps. So like I said, it was November when I did the volunteer. Okay. And then I signed up for it in December when registration opened.
Gotcha.
And I don't think I bought a bike until like 19. February or March.
Crazy.
And I used to travel a lot for work. So I was going to California to do a job there. And then I didn't even know that they had just ordinary small triathlons in Arizona. I didn't know that the community is what it is. I didn't know any of it really existed. I just thought that Ironman was triathlon, and that was it. And so then I did some research and I found the Rocky Hill Triathlon in California. Uh-huh. And I said, hey, that's while I'm going to be there, I could do that. And I found a bike on like Craigslist for, I think I paid like $400 or $500 for it. I loaded it into my truck on the way out of town. I went and bought shoes at REI and a helmet. And I went and I did this, this triathlon, and it blew my mind. I was like, what's going on? It was just crazy. I didn't know about the swim. I didn't know about like, how do you change your clothes? What do you wear? It was a pool swim, and that was wild because it was just very, disorganized and crazy. But I think that was a sprint distance.
Gotcha.
And it kicked my butt. And and it's funny now, because you think about it and it's like, oh, that's, it's just a sprint. But for a first timer, it's a lot, Yeah.
Because especially the first time going to the transition, changing all this tire.
Everything.
Was that, should we say that was 2018 or 19?
That would have been 2000.
If your Ironman Arizona is 19.
That would have been 2019. Yeah. Because it was 2000, November 2018 that I volunteered. So that would have been March.
Your first, sprint was even 2019. And to think, in 4 years, Kona.
Yeah.
And not just Kona, everyone. So not just Kona. Let me just give a quick glimpse here that we have in one of our websites. So here you go. This is Erik, 1 hour or less training. And we'll talk more about that. Extremely busy schedule, running his own business, being a father, and doing triathlon. These are all his races accomplishment in just, let's say 3 years with us, 4 years total as a triathlete. Kona, Boston Marathon. His second marathon was 3:13:53, 7:24 minutes per mile. He was top 6% male age group in his Alcatraz. Personal record for 70.3 was 5:02. Which after that Arizona 70.3, he did the rim to rim finish 2 weeks. And then 2 weeks after, he also did the Arizona again. He also had done the Goggins 4x4 by 48 finisher. And he also did the V Everesting cycling finish with me. Wherein you're on the trainer, and that we did that during the COVID year when there's no races. Hey, let's do something. He did that for, let me see. 29,000 29 feet elevation gain, and that was about at least 15 hours on the trainer.
That was horrible.
that was one of your first long ones.
That was awful. Yeah, and that was in the trainer too. My family got to watch that, and they were just like, "What are you doing?"
Absolutely. But then one of the things that we actually met Erik in is one of the things that he had done is, let me just quickly show you. So this was his Everesting, and this one was the first time that I met him. He was the Feisty Fox Shark. He went from 149 minutes per 100 yards to 134 minutes per 100 yards. That was about March of 2020 during COVID year. So he came from 149 to 134 minutes per 100 yards in 30 days. 30 days. I think that was your breakthrough as well. Like, oh, I could be a fast swimmer.
Yeah, that was cool because I thought that I had kind of topped out, and
with 149.
I had like zero swimming. Like when I, thought that I would sign up for this, Ironman thing, I was like, oh yeah, I'll join the gym and I'll go get in the pool. I don't think I could swim 100 yards without like stopping and holding onto the edge, so.
Gotcha. All right. Well, let's go back to this because I know, like, after learning more of like how you were 3-4 years ago, which is, 4 years is when you just bought your bike, not knowing much about triathlon. You went into this triathlon for sprint and then signed up and then did your first Ironman Arizona. And that was back in 2019.
Right.
Year 2021, you qualified for Kona. 2022, you finished your Ironman Kona just last month. So for those who's just tuning in, we're going to talk about this one. We're going to jump in, and Erik is ready. Yeah, prepared for this. Did a lot of reflection going back. What did he learn? I said, hey, Erik, let's get some time on the reflection.
Before you do that, I am wondering what is everybody else's questions? Put them in right now.
We're gonna be.
If we do want to know if there's something we don't cover, we can go back and see if there's something we can help you guys with.
And if he's already inspiring you, just saying like how he was, that would be great to know as well. We're really thankful that Erik is here. But yeah, feel free to please. We're here to answer your questions. Go ahead and ask questions as we go along. While Erik and I and Gunetta here, we're going to be discussing top 10 things he learned on his 3-year journey as a busy dad. He got 4 kids, little ones. Go ahead, Erik. What are the top things? You ready for this?
Yeah, I kind of, so you just asked me about this last week. And, first of all, I'm like really flattered that you asked me to do this because I don't think that I am just ordinary. I know, Vanetta, thank you, but I'm not superhuman. And, but it's exciting to me because I really am, I love the sport, and I think that it's for anybody who wants to do it. And it's amazing when we're out there and we see people of all ages, all shapes, all sizes doing it. It really is amazing. And so if I can share a little bit of that and kind of even encourage somebody who might be thinking like, I want to do it, but I don't know if I can, you can absolutely do it. So thank you for this opportunity. And when you asked me about the top 10 things, it was like, oh, how do I put those in a list, and how do I, number those? And really, I just kind of had to sit down and start thinking about the journey, really, and how I got here. And there's like no clear like roadmap. You can't really, sit down with somebody and say, well, do this, 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 and this, and you'll get there, because it's going to look different for everybody. And so for me, it was a lot more mindset than, that you have the coaching and you have the Training Peaks plan and you follow the plan, but along the way, there's a lot that you learn about yourself along the way, and a lot that you learn about life with how to make it all work and how to pull so much out of you. So that was kind of like the basis behind these points. So it's not, so if you came looking for a roadmap, you're gonna have to get a coach and get a plan. So, the first one that brings me to that is that in my eyes, the mental health aspect of it is just as important as the physical health. And so you're gonna have to get strong mentally, because it's not going to be easy. There are going to be times when you want to give up and you want to quit, and sometimes that you question yourself. And so that's probably been the biggest thing for me, is because there were a lot of times when I was like, it goes back to that first triathlon that we were talking about. I remember finishing that and I was just like, what is going on? Like this is crazy, And then I remember the second one, I came back home to Liz, and I was signed up to do a full, and I got through. I think I did my first Olympic one. My goggles got kicked off in the water. My bike, I got out of the water. My bike was the last one there. I was the last person out of the water.
Wow.
I got back in on the bike and they were already announcing winners, and I still had to go out and do the run. I was the second to last finisher. It was just like, I remember getting home and feeling so defeated, and I was just like, I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to do this. And,
Ironman.
It was just like, it was just like one day at a time. So I think that's the biggest one, is that you need to realize is that you're going to have to strengthen your mind, and the rest will come. But you're going to have to make a choice that this is something you want to do. Maybe it's not an Ironman per se. Maybe it's not Kona, but if you want to do triathlon, you just kind of have to make the choice that you're going to, start doing it and stick with it. It does.
It gets hard. And especially if you try to race the bar, it will get hard and harder and harder, but then you get stronger as well. You learn from the process during the process.
Right. Absolutely.
Good.
So the second one, I just mentioned it too, is the coaching. I think coaching is critical, unless you want to do a lot of reading and get very confused on a lot of different ways to go about it, because there's a lot of different types of coaching strategies and ways of thinking and ways to approach it. And so I recommend getting a coach. I don't know if I would have advanced so quickly trying to do it on my own. So, and with a coach, you get, there's like a trust relationship. You kind of feed off of each other, and then you have somebody who knows you and who knows when to push and when they can pull things out of you that maybe you don't think that you're capable of. Because it's, no matter how motivated you are, you'll still kind of make it easier on yourself, without a coach there to push you, in my opinion. I mean, there are some people who are really
kind of like bandit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that would be my second bullet point would be coaching.
Can you elaborate a little bit? So, because other people might be looking for a coach and they might be thinking how do I know this is the coach for me? How do I determine what would be, I don't know, your top 3 things that you would look for in a coach, in a good coach?
That's hard. I think it's got to feel right. I think that you're going to be communicating a lot, and you're going to be sharing a lot of your life with them. You're going to have to share probably some personal things, because it all molds together. Your personal life is going to affect your ability to train, and the degree of your training, or the amount of your training, is going to affect things in your personal and your professional life too. So there's got to be a lot of trust there. There's got to be good communication, and you have to be able to get along. I think that you should probably, I was going to say that you should look for fruit on the tree, but that's not always the case. I think that you can still have a good coach who maybe hasn't necessarily, succeeded in those things themselves. I think that they could still be a good teacher and a good coach and a good motivator. So I would say that that's not necessarily something that you have to look for. I think it's just got to feel right. You know, you interview some people, find out. So I know a good one.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. How were you able to stand me for 3 years? Like, is it the communication, the trust that you mentioned?
Yeah, the trust. I think that, you know, I had a coach through that first season. He was awesome. He was really good. He moved on to do to a different career path, and he got me to my first triathlon, and we're still friends, and it was great. And I really cherished that relationship and that experience. And then I had to go looking for a new coach. And then the swim boot camp came along. I was kind of going to take a break, and I wanted to explore swimming and I really fell in love with swimming, and I wanted to get better at it. Yeah. And so I signed up for the boot camp. And then when I had the opportunity to come to California, and I said, "Hey, Shang, I'm going to be there. Can I get a session with you?" And you kind of like dropped everything to make that happen, because I know you're busy. Yeah. And you made that happen. So that was important to me. That meant a lot. And then we just, clicked, and I think the communication was good. And then you kind of told me a little bit more about your program, and gotcha. And I had already done my research on you too. And so it was like, okay, this is a good opportunity and a good mix. And it really was kind of a no-brainer from there. But it's not like I had all these options to pick from either, so okay. It just, right.
Well, what I wanted to share to everyone is that the trust and the communication was huge for the coach as well. So if you have a coach yourself, that the trust and communication is very important, because for the coach, myself, coming from myself, I've been able to help Erik much better when I understand where he's coming from. And essentially, by the end of the day, I don't see him just as an athlete. I see like all the other moving parts that affect him to be a happy, not just, a success, all these medals and podiums, but actually a happy, balanced athlete. Someone who can actually like, oh, I love triathlon because this is so cool. So yeah, so I just wanted to emphasize that because of that. So thanks for that that we have a great communication. That's actually really helpul.
Awesome. Yeah, you bet.
All right, I think we're ready to move on to number 3.
I'm actually taking notes.
Okay. So I just, like I said, these are kind of bullets, but community, I think is very important. And you have that through the feistyfox community. That's kind of online, and I've made some really, really good friends, people that I've never met before in my life, but that I consider like really awesome friends. We talk a lot, we communicate a lot. We motivate each other. We give each other shit, like we, it's like,
don't talk about me, right? All good things.
Sorry, excuse the language, but it's like we have that teammate camaraderie, which I love. And then I've plugged into some local groups here too. Yeah. That I've just made some incredible friends through the community, and they're teammates, but they're also friends. We share the same interests, and it's great. And then inside of that big bullet of community, I think it's important to have people that stretch you, and people who are really a lot better than you, that don't mind having you around. Mm-hmm. But then also people that you can kind of hang back with and chill with and have a good time with too. It's easy to get into the trap of like having it as kind of like a social club where you're going out on rides, but you're just out for a stroll, you're going for runs, but you might be at different abilities and you're having a good time together, but you might not necessarily be pushing yourself the way you should. And so I had other groups that these people they don't really know me, and I'm not really in their clique, but I show up and I chase after them, and they really stretch me. And so I thank them for that too, that they tolerate me, but they're still not afraid to drop me. They drop me all the time, and that's okay. So,
that's the thing. I think that's a new insight for a lot of people here.
Yeah. Basically, you show up and you suck it up, even you get dropped. Because I'm also like that. I got dropped but I just show up. It is what it is.
Yeah. And there were, so there's a Tuesday and Thursday Scottsdale group, and these guys are crazy, and they're, they're insane. And they really humble me because they're nuts. But I showed up a few times and got, just totally dropped within the first, 10 minutes. It was like we went out for the warm up, and then as soon as they hit the first hill, they were gone. And it was like, okay, wow, I've got a lot of work to do. And so there were times when I wouldn't meet with them. I would go out early and I would get ahead of them. And then it was a race, a race for me against them. It was like, let's see how long it takes that, like how long I can stay ahead of them, And so that's kind of a cool experience too, because then you're on your own and it's really up to you to push yourself and see what you can do. So, and they would still, catch me and swallow me up. But I think it's good to have that mix, because it is really easy to get comfortable within like a social group. And that might not always necessarily be what's best for your training. It's good for you mentally though, and it's good for your psyche to have people like that. So I think there's a nice balance there that needs to happen. So
you were gonna say something?
Jason says great job, Erik. Brian says incredible.
Thanks.
So these first three tips, you guys: mental health, coaching
is critical, community is important. So those so far we are on 3.
Any questions you guys have about that?
Any insights? So you guys have that already? You guys know already? What's your experience on that one? All right, number 4. Let's go to number 4.
Help.
Help. All right, there you go.
You're probably going to need some help.
All right.
Training, depending on its intensity and how many hours you've committed to a week. We're not professional athletes. That's not to say that professional athletes have it easy, because they have lives too. They have families, they have everything else. They deal with all of the same kind of life problems that we deal with. The only difference is that we're just kind of doing this for fun, right?
Yeah.
And it costs a lot of money, and it takes a lot of our time, and it takes a lot from our ordinary lives. And so you're probably going to need some help, and you're probably going to need to lean on some people to help you. And so you bring up 4 kids, and there's just no, we've got a full house, and there's no way I could do it on my own. I've got a ton of help, and I'm so grateful for that. And that might not always be available to everybody, but I think there's still ways that you can creatively kind of make things work for you. Along with that, I also think it's important that, people ask me or they've said how can I, for instance, this is just an example of a question that came up on one of the boards, but it was my wife was so supportive through my first Ironman, but now she's not as supportive anymore. And it's well, yeah, dude, she's probably, wondering, are you going to do this for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
And I think it's important to understand that your dream isn't everybody else's dream, and other people are going to have their dreams too. And so, those same people might not always be available, and you're still going to have to figure out how to kind of make it work for you. You can't get angry about that, but you're going to have to still figure out how to make it work for you. And then there's some people your employer or, people that you work with.
Yeah, they don't understand.
Yeah, maybe they have their dreams, and you're a part of helping them accomplish their dream. And they're not too happy about you're chasing their dream, so, maybe they want you to work late and you can't, so you're going to upset some people too. So I think all of that fits into that help category of, you're going to need some people to help you. You're going to have to help some people sometimes too. And then
both ways.
Yeah. You're going to have to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So Vinette is also doing this one.
I'm taking notes.
All right. You guys are getting a lot from this one. So those who are just tuning in, just want to share to you guys, we are talking about this. We are actually on the 5th next, but basically Erik is sharing his top 10 things that he learned during his 3-year journey as a busy dad to become an Ironman Kona finisher. So he did it in 3 years, from qualifying to actually finishing the Kona in 3 years time. We are on the 5th. All right. So I totally agree with you, the help part. And also part of it is actually being able to say help.
Yeah.
Because you're just gonna, hey, I could do this one because I'm an Ironman. I'm becoming an Ironman. I could do this. No, it's not a solo journey. Like all the things you just mentioned, those are very, very important. So help. And of course, people are going to help you if you help them back. It's both ways. Be nice to people. See, they can be nice to you too. Okay.
Yeah. And like the degree of help they give you might vary from person to person too. I know people whose wives are there, or wives or husbands, spouses, whatever, are there for, like at the beginning of the race before the sun comes up, and they're there till the very end. They're there in the rain. They're there, it's like, and then, like now Liz is like, hey, we'll see you down there sometime. And it's like, okay, no problem. I know, like, you don't want to wake up at like 4 a.m. and go down there and wait in the cold just for me to start a swim. It's like, I'll see you down there later. It's not a big deal, So, I guess, sorry, I got kids coming in right now. I got to tell them. I'm on a Zoom call. Thank you. Can you post
Bailey says such good information and helpful.
Thank you. How are we doing on time? Are we?
We're good. We got 15-20 minutes.
Okay, cool. So now I've got, I wrote mix it up, and that is, so I do lots of stuff, not just triathlon. And actually there was just an article I just read in the Triathlete magazine that just came out, and it really kind of struck a chord, because it was, the author went to the doctor, and the doctor asked, like, are you a runner? And she was like, well, not yes, but but she's and then she does triathlon, but she hasn't raced in like 8 months. So she's like, am I still a triathlete? So there was this big like question in her mind of like, what am I exactly? Am I a swimmer? Well, I'm more than that, and I'm a cyclist. Well, I'm more than that, So I think that it's nice that we can kind of do everything. We don't have to like put ourselves on this label of just triathlete. We can be multi-sport athletes. I like just being an athlete. I think being 45 years old and having the ability to be an athlete, and that I can be called an athlete is awesome. So, but I like to mix it up. And so I do mountain biking. I do trail running. I think you remember when I broke my hand, when I took that spill on the bike.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
Accidents.
So
the accident.
I think
the first time who gets the news.
yeah, that's right. I probably did.
Hey, coach, something hanging in here.
Yeah, my fingers, dangling. But that was like a huge setback at that moment, and I was really upset about it. Yeah. But since I couldn't get on the bike and I couldn't swim, he did give me permission to run. And so I started hiking, and I got on the trails, and I hadn't really done a lot of that. And I fell in love with that. And I'm so glad that I did that, because like trail running now is one of my favorite things to do. And I don't think I would have discovered that. And it's great cross training too. So, and then there was the Via Everesting that you mentioned, those are just like crazy, wacky things that we do. Grand Canyon crossing. What's that?
Because we got no race. You got to do.
We got no race. Yeah. Doing stuff like the Grand Canyon and doing other things like that. So, there's ultra running. There's lots of different things that we can do. There's the Xterra triathlon series is like getting hot right now. Gravel biking, so there are a lot of things that you can do to mix it up. And once again, like kind of maintain that mental health of like, not just like steady, constant, like swimming laps, doing bike trainer.
Let me add on that one too, Erik. So for Erik, I told him, like, I want you to be happy athlete. I want you to just tell me anything you want, not just really the Ironman. So sometimes he'll be like, coach, I'm going to go do the rim to rim to rim. Coach, I'm going to do the Goggins, So to me, I'm like, okay, let's do it. And what I like about Erik also is that he's not afraid to actually jump into something new. And in fact, when he started doing, he has not been a mountain biker, like he just got a bike and he was like so in love with the bike. And he would tell, Coach, I'm gonna sign up for this mountain bike race. It'll be my first time. So he got kicked. Like he was like, like he was having trouble, but he got better at that. So what I like is that he allows himself to be okay, to be, just learning, be at not at the front, but actually getting through it. And sometimes it sucks, just being new and not knowing what to do, having all these mistakes. But he's like a kid, like, how a kid is. He's just like curious. Oh, maybe I'll do that and try it. And then, okay, it's fun. Let's do more of it. So for Erik, I didn't stop him to do that. I didn't say, no, it's not part of your training. It's not going to help you, but I know it will because, I'm crazy too. I do a lot of different things. And actually one of those things that he did was that he did one of the, there's several of them, but one of them was the Arizona 70.3. And that was last year. So he did that Arizona 70.3 2 weeks after he did the rim to rim to rim to rim. Is that 3, 4? And then the next thing is that 2 weeks after that, he did the Ironman Arizona. That one was with brutal winds. And he still did well. It's mainly because of all the trainings that we've been doing. So like it was within 6 weeks. 70.3 and then sub 12 hours on that Arizona with brutal winds. So mix it up. Awesome. Love that you got a good shortcut name.
Nice.
All right. Number 6.
Pam likes it. Pam likes that one.
All right. Yes.
Oh, cool.
Pamela said mix it up. Yes, she does the same.
Mix it up. Make it interesting. So keep it fun.
Yeah.
Stay steady.
Stay steady.
This is probably my biggest challenge is staying steady because because life happens, right? And problems spring up. And so and I think there's another point. Yeah, my next point is kind of dives deeper into that with balance and things. But another part of staying steady is that it's not always like you're not always going to feel great. And so it's easy to kind of cop out of a workout when you're not feeling like it, you're not feeling great. And that's exactly when you need to go and do that workout. And one of the books I just read, Bravey, I think I told you about it, Shane, by Pappas. Anyway, her coach told her about the rule of thirds. And this one really kind of struck a chord with me. It says that a third of the time you should feel great, a third of the time you should feel so-so, and a third of the time you should feel crappy. And if any of those things are out of balance, it's time to kind of reassess. And there's probably a problem with your training. If you're feeling good all the time, you're probably not pushing yourself enough, right? Yep. And if you're feeling crappy all the time, you're probably overtraining.
Yep.
But the comforting thing in that is knowing that when you feel crappy, like that's where you're supposed to be. Like you're supposed to feel that way, like a third of the time, right? That's part of the process, you know? So
because you put stressor in it, you're gonna feel something.
Yeah, but and then that like I think Reggie asked me the other day, like, man, I'm feeling sorry, Reggie, to mention your name, but I think he's okay with it. But he was like this
right now.
He's like this because he's getting ready for Ironman Arizona. He's like, this fatigue is building. He's like this, like, when's my taper supposed to start? I was like, taper? What taper? We don't taper, but no, but it's like sometimes you say these things and after you say it, you like it even rings a bell inside your head. You're like, wow, like I needed to hear that, but it's like the growth happens in the fatigue. Like the fatigue is when the growth happens, and if you think about like, even when you go and lift weights, like you don't get stronger by lifting the weights, you tear yourself up. The strength comes from the recovery, right? It comes when you go to sleep and you recover. So it's the same thing like that, building up that fatigue and then the recovery aspects. Those are all things that are supposed to happen. You need to work through that because that's when the improvement is really, really happening. So that's part of staying steady.
And I think we need to probably mention and distinguish that pain is not fatigue, and you don't want
so you got to make sure there's a fine line there too. Yes, you got to train hard and you need to feel that it's working. You don't want to be like easy or like it's always the happy place. You will feel something. Right. And then the next thing is that like you got to also determine like what's pain, right? And you cannot show up next day. Then right. Okay. Also. All right.
I think that's a good distinction. And yeah, I forget about that sometimes, that sometimes people will like try to like push through pain and like agony. And it's like, no, like if it's like white hot pain, you need to stop. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But there, so I'm speaking more of those times where you just, you just feel kind of like blah, or you're just like, I'm tired, or you're not, you're out there, you're trying your hardest, but you're not hitting your paces, and you're just like, God, what's wrong with me today? I don't know what's going on. I can't seem to hit this pace. It's like, well, this you're supposed to be feeling this way. This is a good thing,
It's not always spot on that you're going to hit it, because it is hard. You're going to have to push it harder. And it's
right. Right. And the point that she makes in the book is that you can still give 100%, like 100% when you feel great and 100% when you feel bad are going to look totally different. Mm-hmm. But as long as you know that you gave 100%, like you can go home knowing that like you did your part for the day.
Give your all.
Yeah.
All right.
So
that's awesome.
All right, we're moving along, everyone. You guys learning a lot from this one?
Yes, Quinn says growth happens in fatigue.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Ready for the next?
Sorry, yeah, and I know
you're doing good. You're doing amazing.
Okay, so
doing great.
So the big one that people always bring up, like with having a family and owning a business, everything else, is the balance. How do you balance? And I think we always look for balance in our lives, and I haven't found it. I don't know if it exists, and they say, wow, you're like juggling a lot. And it's like, I don't feel like it's juggling, because that takes like coordination and it looks pretty, and this is more, I call it like whack-a-mole, it's just like you're, something fires up over here and you're whacking that one and you're like, oh, this over here. So it's, you're always going to be kind of battling those things in life that are springing up, but you can try your best to be prepared. So, prepare for your workout, like your morning workout, prepare for that the night before, try to schedule things in a way that where you can, work your routine in, and you're going to have to like prioritize that. Yeah. Sometimes, and you're going to have to decide, what's important for you. And, balance implies that like we're able to take all these things in our lives and distribute our time equally. And I don't think that that's realistic, right? Because we have to sleep 8 hours a day, right? And most of us can't even master that. Yeah. I know I can't. And so, so sometimes you just have to like do what's necessary, and you might have to skip the workout, or you might have to, you might decide that you had to skip a party or something because of your workout or something, so you're going to have to decide, what's important to you. But sometimes it's not always about like what's important to you. Sometimes it's like you have to do what's necessary, so you might want to do something else, but you have to go and do what's necessary. So I read a quote the other day that said there's no solutions, only trade-offs. Mm-hmm. And that was from an economics perspective, but for me, it really spoke to me in my life and the decisions that I make, of like, well, it always seems like you're making a trade for something, because we only have so much time in a day, so if there are two things that I want to do, like I'm going to have to trade one for the other. And if I can look honestly at the things that I'm not accomplishing, I can say, okay, well, what have I been trading for that? Because I haven't been doing that, but I've obviously been doing something else. Mm-hmm. So what trades have I been making, and what trades can I make to get what I want? So
Yeah.
I think that's very helpful.
I think also what I also, as knowing you, Erik, is it's dynamically changing. Like you adjust accordingly depending on the day. You know, it's not like it's always balanced 30%, you know, like this. It's because something comes up sometimes and you just like have to like, okay, adjust what's the most important thing today. And what I like about Erik is because he communicates, he plans ahead, he does his best to plan ahead. And for example, he would, you know, like if he knows that the workout is necessary, he does wake up early. He would be up 4 a.m. You know, like in Arizona with the lights on, riding his bike, 4 a.m., 5 a.m. He's done his workout by like 8 or 9, also because it gets hot in Arizona. And like everything else, it's like, okay, got to drop off the kids. And then he even gives me the map of where everything's at. Here's the track. here's the gym.
I could probably hit this pool on the way. And then there's a really good hill right here. I can do repeats right here.
And the hill. So it's a communication, like what is doable? Because sometimes, I would love Erik to go to the mountains, but how long is the drive? It's like 1 or 2 hours. Is it worth it? Can we get some workout where it is within the vicinity? Because all those driving takes time. So like really a lot that has helped me is that Erik trusts me and also like communicates really well, especially when, he's just so busy at work. And sometimes he had to like, Coach, I can only do 30 minutes. And sometimes we negotiate. Hey, Erik, can you do 30 minutes? How about 20 minutes? How about just this body maintenance? Okay, Erik, I'm going to let you go because you need a mental break right now. You need some rest, you know? So those things, it does vary. So love what you shared, that it changed and, you know, you go after what's necessary.
And then Andrea had a question. She asked, do you time block or have a schedule on your phone to manage all of this?
No, because I feel like it takes time to do that, and it always just gets blown out the window. And so for me, that feels like a waste of time. I do that in more of like, I write down the things in the day that are absolutely important that I need to get done. And I really do try to work to try to make the workout a part of that most of the time that's possible. But as far as like a minute by minute, some people can do that. I can't, because it never seems to work out. And it seems like it takes more time for me to create that than it does to just I kind of go with the flow a lot of times. Because like you said, things are always popping up. So
I think for you, what you've been doing, Erik, is like, what's the top 3 things that's important? Is that how it is? Like when you go out on a day, what's the top 2 or 3 things that I got to do today?
Yeah. And I've got my swim bag with me, or I've got my running shoe. Like running shoes are great, right? You know, you have a pair of shorts and shoes, and you can, you know, if I have a cancellation somewhere, or if like somebody, you know, is late or whatever, like I can run. I can go to the job site early and I can hop out of my truck and run and then come. I have that luxury. I work construction. So if I come back from a run sweaty, like I'm just going to get dirty anyways, you know. But if you can try to fit something in, or even, God, even if you know you're not going to like make your whole swim, you know, go to the gym and get in the sauna or something, you know, like, but just keeping that habit going and keeping that momentum, rather than just like, well, I slept in, so now I'm not going to make it, so now I'll just sleep for another 30 minutes, you know, like
you got to do something,
you know. Yeah, just
for a little
I guess try to do something.
Yeah.
So
all right,
keeping the momentum going. I like
everyone enjoying this one. Everyone, we're going along. The next one for Erik. All right, let's do this 8.
Number 8. So I wrote, be careful what you say to yourself. And so this has to do with self-talk. And I think it's very easy to get discouraged in many different ways along the way, both in our training and when things spark up in life and it starts to get hard and complicated. We can really give ourselves some negative talk. And I know that was there. I caught myself in that trap a lot. And it's easy to go kind of spiral down if you don't, you know, kind of kick yourself back out of it. There are a lot of athletes, if we want to get back on the Kona track, I know a lot of athletes that are totally capable of like making a top 10 finish in a full Ironman, and that would give them a pretty good chance at a Kona qualification, but they don't believe that they can do it. And that's frustrating to watch, but I was there too. I was like, oh yeah, I want to go to Kona, but I can't, but I'm never, that's never going to happen to me. And I think it's so interesting that we say what we want, but then we also tell ourselves that we're not capable, like in the same sentence, so like be careful of that, because like you're programming yourself, right? So why can't you get a top 10 finish? Like if you work hard enough, you can totally do that. So and that ties out to like when I found out there were more slots available at CDA, like I didn't register for Coeur d'Alene thinking that it was going to be a qualifier, right? But we trained for it, we trained just to do my best, right? Just to PR and just do my best. And then it wasn't until like, a few days before I left when they announced that they released more slots for Kona qualification. And it was like, oh, well, maybe I can do this, And so it was like that self-talk kind of changed, and it's amazing that it happened, right? But like the self-talk changed, so I think, and I'll explain later why that carried me through the race. Because all through the bike, I was just the whole race, it was like Kona. That was my mantra for the race, was Kona. Every time I slowed down, it was like Kona, I'm going to Kona. To Kona. So
because it was a hot race too. It was a hilly, hot race, and it was hard.
It was hot. We had prepared for it.
Kona. Like I can.
Yeah.
When you start thinking about like I can, it will. You will.
Right.
And right. It did. Now you're a Kona finisher, Kona qualified, Kona finisher.
Yeah, so, and there'll be, and so like we talked before about like some people are going to be for your goal and some people won't, so it's really easy to listen to like the naysayers too, and it's really easy to buy into that, and it's really easy to start kind of like playing that back in your head too. So just be careful of that. Just watch out for that.
Yeah, choose to listen, who you listen. Not everyone will like you, but listen to the ones who like you. All right.
They say if everybody likes you, you're doing it wrong, right? So.
Yes.
Reggie also had a question. What made you not quit during Kona, during the race?
So a lot of that was that self-talk kind of change, where it was like I really believed after they released those extra spots. Well, we had, like I said, we had prepared. We knew what my paces were. We knew what we had put together a good game plan to follow. And it was like, it just, I don't know, for some reason, like it's crazy what like belief will do, right? Because it was like all of a sudden, like I didn't really see it at the time, but I still just kind of believed that it was possible. Like that's kind of what changed. And so, because in the race, there's plenty of opportunities to quit, not just to quit like the race, like you're going to finish the race, right? You signed up for it. Like, all of us want to finish and get across the line and get that medal, right? I mean, we paid for it, we worked for it, but there are plenty of times to like kind of quit mentally during the race, and like, maybe you walk, maybe you slow down on the bike, maybe you take some extra time in transition, maybe you take some extra time at that water station or that aid station. There's plenty of opportunities to, I call it kind of quitting. You just say, oh, whatever.
Like what you can and capable to do. And
you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to, I'll just coast from here on out and I'll finish, like it's, you have this negotiation in your head, right? Of like the pain versus the reward. Right. And it's like, well, if I'm not going to get a spot, then what's the point of like going through all this pain, right? Or if I'm not going to hit my PR, what's the point? Or like, I'm not hitting the paces that I wanted to, excuse me, that I wanted to hit in my plan, so what's the point, so you kind of check out, so.
All right.
I guess that's what changed, was the belief.
All
I
right.
like that. I think we are down to number 9.
All right. You guys are taking notes. These are all good stuff.
Yes, there's a lot of really good.
This is really good, Erik.
I hope this is okay.
No, this is great.
Yeah, thank you.
Right.
Comparison. We hear it, comparison is the thief of joy. But I did get some bad talk about, like you said, not everybody's going to like you, right? I did get some bad talk about my qualification, which is disappointing. I heard it from people. I saw it in online, and I saw it with other people who went to St. George for Worlds too, because what happened was Ironman made more slots available. And so there were naysayers out there. They're going to be everywhere, but people who said, oh, well, these people might not have qualified in the traditional way for this world championship. And what they're really saying is that to them, that made their qualification less valuable because somebody else might have gotten it in a different manner. And I think that's really, really sad for them, right? Yeah. That they, they diminish their own value and their own worth because of somebody else's accomplishment. And so you can't let that affect you either. And don't be that person for sure. Yeah, but also don't let other people and what they're saying affect you, and be careful about who you're comparing yourself to, because this is always about you versus you, right? It's always about doing your best. And if you are constantly doing your best and you are constantly competing against yourself and improving, the only way is to go is up, right? And you will get better. There was another quote or another point that I made. Yeah, just compare you to you, It's you versus you. And if you're going to compare, and that's what it was, if you're going to compare, look to others for inspiration and hope and good things, right?
And actually, I totally agree with you, Erik. So like for me, I only listen, or like I have blinders. If it's positive and it makes me feel positive and makes me feel happy, I listen more. If it makes me like I don't like myself anymore, I got blinders. So I'm not looking at that, because I got a lot of that too. People are not gonna like you all the time. Okay. Right. And actually, like this guy here, 2.4 miles, 118 hours, 6:03, 4:20 in Kona, 11:57. Definitely deserving Ironman World Championship finisher, Erik. Again, congratulations for that. You did it 3 years.
Thank you. Yeah.
You definitely are in it. All right. Love it. Okay. So, love that. Comparison is the thief of joy. Last but not the least.
And we've heard this one before too. So I read a lot. So like a lot of, when I was like writing all this stuff down, then these kind of like bullets came to mind of like, yeah, that reminds me of this and that reminds me of that. So that's how I kind of titled these. But good luck finds those who prepare for it, right? So this goes back to your point about CDA and the announcement for the additional slots. And it was like we had this like incredible opportunity in front of us that we prepared for. We didn't know it was going to be there. We didn't know it was going to be available, but we were ready for it. We were, and the fact that I, Santa Rosa, I might not have had the same, experience. It was a June race, which means that I was training in Arizona. And I was already very heat acclimated. And the race in CDA was one of the hottest on record. I think other people had like a hotter one, but it was like 104 degrees on the run. Like it was miserable. They had a very high rate of, I'm sorry? The DNFs were like huge, like through the roof, like people were dropping like flies. So, that was my benefit, right? Because I came from Arizona and people were like, oh, you brought the heat with you. And I'm like, yeah, I'm good for us, And all the other guys from Arizona that I raced with did great. in that race, guys and gals. And so like we were ready for it. So it was neat that that opportunity came along. And then I'll just like tell a little bit of the story too, because let me just see real quick, bear with me, because I kind of had to write down some numbers. The heat acclimation, more spots open. And so then we were like, okay, it's on. So there were 23 slots for my age group, which is huge. That's kind of unheard of, right?
Yeah.
So that's what made it to me seem possible. But here's the kicker. I finished in 24th place.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when I got done, I crossed the finish line. You don't have your phone on you, you just have your time. So it was like, and I'm just like exhausted. And I remember sitting there at the food tent and like, I asked somebody if I could like use their phone to check this, like my place, and I checked it and I knew that I needed 23rd for the slot and I was 24th place. And it was like,
it's almost
I was just so crushed. Like I missed it, I remember just being so, well, and at the end of the race, you're just like deflated anyways, like you've got nothing left. And I just remember being so crushed. And I remember calling my sister that night. I was just like, I was so upset, I was like, I missed it, and I was like, I'll go to the ceremony tomorrow. I'll go to the roll down. We'll see what happens. And so, and then you start playing these things in your head, like, what could I have done differently? Like the guy ahead of me finished like 4.5 minutes ahead of me. And it's like, you think of all the moments during the day on that course where you might have like held back a little bit, or you might have taken that extra time. There was like, all right, I had to stop and tie my shoe, or I had to like do this. I shouldn't have taken that extra water break. I should, and it was just like, it was just so, it was really painful, and it really hurt. But we went to the roll down spot the next day. And so I don't know if people are familiar for those who aren't familiar. So they have these slots available. If somebody ahead of you doesn't take the slot, then that's called a roll down. So that rolls to the next place. So the person in front of me wasn't there and they didn't get the spot. And so the slot rolled down to me. Yee-hoo! And so I got that last spot in my bracket and that's how I got in. So it was like, it was luck, but and then the person after me was like 1 minute and 30 seconds behind me. So like if there were any of those other moments where I would have said like, oh, I'll take an extra break here, or, oh, I'll stop, then another minute and 30 seconds, they would have had that spot too. So like, that's my point of this is like, you never know what's going to happen in any situation. So you just do your best all the time, try to, and prepare, and hopefully good luck finds you. And you're ready when it hits. So, because my Kona story is it's a hard work story, but it's a good luck story too.
There you go.
So yeah. So that's what I wanted to end with.
All right. So everyone, are you guys getting a lot from this? We went over a little bit, but I actually have the 10 points. So I'm just going to read off. So if you missed out, you guys can follow through, and we have the replay available. So that will be available, but I'm just going to read through. Number 1, Erik said, mental health aspect is as important as physical health. That's bullet number 1 that he learned. 2nd, coaching is critical. 3rd, community is also important. He has used that. Number 4, help. You're going to need people to help you, and you're going to need to help people. So vice versa, both ways. 5th, mix it up, meaning that don't just do triathlon, so make it fun. 6th, stay steady. 7th, having a family balance. Keep it balanced. Okay. Be careful what you say to yourself. Number 8. Number 9, comparison is the thief of joy. Number 10, last but not the least, good luck finds those who prepare for it. You guys get a lot from that. Which one stood out for you? Which one do you like the most or can relate? Tell us more about it.
Which one do you need to implement a little bit more?
Which one of that? Could it be balance? That Erik's also still working out, always changing still, but he's getting through it. He's actually doing well, I think. After seeing what's happening with his
life. There's a lot going on for sure.
Yeah, so. A lot going on. But a lot of this one is a learning process. There's a lot of this one's a learning process. Once you like, okay, hey, I want that. How badly do you want this one? And then, it's not going to be always easy. It's not going to be always hard. It's all up to you of how you make your journey be. You really have the control of it. And the bonus of it is that you will have this kind of learnings that Erik also has gotten in that 3-year journey, wherein he qualified. He aimed for it, like he didn't know it was going to be a little over a year that he'll qualify, that he will actually race in 3 years. And we talked about this one. It was only 4 years ago when he did his first triathlon. Okay. Only 4 years ago. Only 4 years ago when he did his first ever Ironman and qualified on his second Ironman for Kona. Right. So that was even with COVID. All right. So we went through a lot. So that's what we do, everyone. If you have more questions, please don't hesitate to post it here. And look at Andrea, learned a lot. Mental health coaching is people are taking notes. They're listing it out. Awesome. Way to go.
I hope that helps some people. So
yeah, definitely.
Michelle says, way to go, Erik.
Way
great
to be a great inspiration.
A lot of great information.
Also say comparison is a thief of joy. They're taking notes, Erik.
They're
going to code on you now. Just like the 3 C's. Cool, calm, and collected.
Do your best to stay
that
way.
There you go. Awesome. Well, Gloria just signed in too. So that's what we do here in Ironman and Beyond, everyone. So we do this weekly live training. We talk about things that we believe that would really, really help you. We invite special guests just like Erik, who have benefit like on the journey of triathlon and actually giving back. So, like if you are one of those who's like ready to take actions, you're a go-getter, it by heart. You don't want to be average, like it doesn't have to be also Kona. Okay. Like anything big for example, Erik mentioned earlier, like sprint. Yeah. So for some people it's short, but that was big for me. That was big for me. If your big dream right now is a sprint triathlon or 70.3, all right. And that's actually getting out of your comfort zone and you're ready to take action, ready to go for that dream. Let us give you the game plan, just 15 minutes on a free call, have a talk with us and let us help you show what are the things that you're able to actually do right now or focus right now, because triathlon can be crazy, swim, bike, run. There's so many things. So what is it that you want to focus on? Like, what are the areas?
Yes, There's a lot more areas than just the swim, bike, run. You gotta know that. So
if you want that free 15-minute call, just put hashtag game plan and we can talk to you. We can talk about your dreams and goals and help you guys out. And so now before you are superhuman, Erik. They think you're superhuman, Erik.
Andrea said that.
All right. Thank you for the information, Brian said. All right. So Erik, do you have any you have already given a lot. So do you have any words or advice to everyone before we let you go? How do you feel? How things are? Any advice?
No, just, moving into the new, I think we talked earlier. I told you I was, trying to take a minute to reassess. I think sometimes, especially after you do something like you hit that big goal, it's a good idea to take a break and kind of reassess and figure out where you want to go from here. It's totally natural you develop like this habit, right? And this like routine to like just keep on grinding forward and grinding forward. But if you don't know where you're going, like what are you doing? So that's kind of where I am right now, is like, what do I want to do next? Yeah. I think we need to keep on stretching ourselves all the time, right? So I'm kind of looking for the next big thing, right? To go out and achieve. I think that your dream has to scare you a little bit, right? And if it's not scaring you, then it's probably not big enough. And so
Good stuff.
I need to find something challenging. So that's what we're working on next. So
yeah. All right. Love that last words for today. Yep. For today.
For today.
For today. All right. Thanks a lot, Erik. Thanks a lot, everyone. If you guys got a lot of value, just put #value. Let's thank Erik's time because we know he's busy. You guys are busy too, but you're here. So we love you all. We're always happy to just get together and then just learn from each other.
Yes, and we'll see you on the next live training.
All right. Bye, everyone, and have a great weekend. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.